everyone. Welcome to Ask the Expert, the show where you can connect directly with the experts to get your questions answered. I'm Abarna Jayachandran. I'm like your host today. Today, we are going to talk about creating apps with Ampere-based Azure VMs. With me here, I have Jamshed, Mo, and Hari. If you're joining us live, please get your questions into the chat. If you're watching this on demand, welcome. Please be sure to check out the resources provided in the description for more details. Awesome. Let's get started here. Hey guys,
Hey, Aberna, how are you?
doing
Hello.
good. Hi,
Hey, Berna.
let's get this started. Let me hand out the first question over to Mo. Hey Mo, can you tell us more about the Azure's recent Arm-based VM announcement?
You bet, Aberna, and welcome everyone. On April 4th, we announced the public preview availability of Azure's first Arm-based VMs based on Ampere Altra processors in D, E, and DL families. And we're tremendously excited about this release and looking forward to talking more about it here with you today.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Harry, maybe you can take on this question about the
Sure.
Windows 11. Tell us more about the recently announced support for Windows 11 on the ARM Insider preview builds and what the customers and our developers are looking into to do with those releases.
Yeah, for sure. So, we've announced Windows ARM on PCs a few years ago. Pro X, Surface Pro X is sort of one of our top selling devices. Samsung has a bunch of devices on ARM. You have Lenovo. So we have a lot of ARM devices out there in the PC space. What we've consistently heard from our customers and developers particularly is, hey, we want a VM so that we can start testing and doing, continuous integration and development in the cloud. That's sort of the model for how people develop apps nowadays. They write code and then they run the tests in the cloud. And so this is a clear gap that we've heard from the customers. And so we've been working with Azure for the last couple of years to get this support going into Azure. And so now what you have in Azure is you have the Windows 11 virtual machines available in Azure, so that when you want to develop apps for the PC, you can test them in Azure itself, and just like you would do with your Intel or AMD device. And that's sort of the main primary purpose here: help make developers' life easier.
Awesome, awesome, amazing, amazing. Great work, guys. Uh, so maybe this is more for Jamshed. What's involved in migrating any of your application or workloads to run on ARM?
Sure, I can take that one. So at the moment, we are working towards delivering a private preview of Visual Studio for ARM64 pretty soon in the coming weeks, so next couple of weeks this month. And this preview will support the desktop workloads, so that's C++ and .NET, WPF and WinForms apps. And once you have this preview of Visual Studio, usually it should be a simple matter of recompiling your application for an ARM64 target. The one thing I think you should keep in mind, though, is that if you have external dependencies beyond your own application, so let's say you're using NuGet packages, you're using third-party controls, then you do want to update your references to use the latest version of the NuGet packages that support ARM. Other than that, I think you should be pretty set for desktop applications. We have a roadmap to deliver other workloads. So if you're building projects that are not desktop projects using Visual Studio, those projects will be coming online through the summer and into the fall, with GA sometime in the fall. Mo,
Hey,
what are
Jump.
you doing?
Hey, Jamshed, if I can just add a couple more. I think Visual Studio does support building desktop apps in the past. I think the preview is going to make it much better. So it's not like people have to wait for the preview to build apps for Windows and ARM PCs, right? Like they could use the prior version of Windows Visual Studio as well to build. It's just that the preview that you guys have brought out has made this so much more easier and simpler, and supports more things such as WPF and WinForms.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
And I could also
Thank
add
you.
to Jamshed's comments there. We see customers generally get up to speed on ARM faster than they've expected. And it depends on where they are looking to use ARM and what their application code base is written in. uh, Customers that, for example, are looking to run open source database management systems on ARM can simply point their application to the new database server and get the benefits of the ARM computing platform that we'll talk about in more detail here shortly. Customers that are running Java-based, other interpreted language applications today also can migrate their code to ARM with minimal effort. And even customers that have complex C++ code we've seen are able to, as Jamshed said, effectively just recompile to an ARM target there. In some cases, customers may need to do additional performance tuning depending on the degree of native code or that's in their application. But generally, we're seeing customers migrate to ARM within a matter of months and relatively a few developers.
Cool, cool. Excellent. Thanks, Mo. Thanks. A question from our viewer, Jessica. What else can we expect on the roadmap that you guys mentioned? Mo, do you want to take that question first?
Sure, sure. Well, we just launched our first entry into the ARM computing space in Azure, and we encourage everyone to apply for the preview and give it a try. We'll certainly keep you apprised of any future developments here, but I'll suffice to say that we are committed to a healthy, sustainable, and long-term ARM roadmap in Azure.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for that question. So, what type of workloads can folks run on an ARM-based Azure VM? Hari or Mo, one of you want to take that question?
Yeah, Mo, go ahead.
Sure, sure. There's a broad range of workloads here. Fundamentally, as Jamshed said, you could recompile to an ARM target, and you're highly likely to get a great experience right up front with little effort past that. Generally, we see customers start in database servers, also build out ARM presence in the web tier applications, Java applications. Generally, are the core group of interest that we see out there.
Excellent, excellent.
And in general as well, if I may add, scale out applications overall can benefit from the performance scaling characteristics of ARM machines and are also generally benefiting from the consistent performance that comes with getting a physical core per vCPU on the Azure Arm VMs.
Mo,
Excellent.
if I can chime in, Mo, like I think the basic point is what type of workloads can you run on ARM-based Azure VMs? The same type of workloads that you would run on non-ARM-based Azure VMs, right? Like that is sort of the basic answer. Like there is no special inherent specialness about the ARM. It's just a different processor type that runs your workloads. And so as long as you have your workloads available built for ARM, they should just run on the ARM processor. So that's sort of the basic point. And then as Mo points out, like there's a bunch of scenarios and workloads that tend to do better on ARM. And so he listed a few of them. But the bottom line is really just, hey, just run the same workloads you plan to run on x64.
Excellent. So, actually, connecting into the same topic that we talked about, right? A question from the viewer. Is there a scenario where they would not want to use an ARM-based VM?
So Jamshed mentioned one of those scenarios in where you may have dependencies that you don't have access to source code, potentially can't get to run on ARM platform. And we do expect that to not be a common case. And feel free to add Jamshed if you'd like as well.
Sure. Um, we are actually working pretty broadly with multiple partners in the ecosystem to ensure we have dependencies that are available on ARM in the future. But in the short term, until a bunch of software vendors update controls, you get packages, and the entire ecosystem catches up, there is going to be a situation where some dependencies may not be satisfied. And typically, if those dependencies are just managed code, they should just work. They may have native code, in which case they're going to run emulated as x64, or they may not. They may not just work, and until they have native resources that are available for ARM64. So in that case, you may want to kind of hold off rebuilding and shipping for ARM64 until your dependency tree is satisfied. So there's going to be a transition period for a while until the ecosystem catches on, but we are working hard to make sure that's as short as possible.
Cool, cool. Thank you, thank you. So today in the new ARM-based VMs that we announced recently, what operating systems are currently supported in them?
Sure. So today we support Ubuntu, CentOS, and Windows 11 Pro and Enterprise on ARM inside our preview builds. With many more to come, and we're expecting releases from Red Hat, SUSE, Debian, and others in coming soon.
Awesome, awesome. Our questions are coming back to back, pretty connected. Here's a question. Can you explain how to write PowerShell scripting to deploy applications in these VM servers?
Emo, you want to take that?
So I think that's a more detailed question. We'll take offline there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the basic answer is just the same way you would do an x64. PowerShell is available on ARM. So if you're running Windows 11, you'll have PowerShell available. If you're running Linux, you'll have to use PS Core, and PS Core being a PowerShell core built on .NET Core. And so the same scripting you use on x64 or Intel AMD is same scripts should work on ARM. There is no difference.
Excellent, excellent. So how do
customers? Azure CLI is fully supporting of the ARM
That's right
as well.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Maybe Mo, this is a question for you. How can customers get started with their ARM-based Azure VMs today?
Sure. So first, apply for the preview at aka.ms/armvms preview, ARM64 VMs preview, excuse me. And you'll find access to the Azure Arm VMs through the same paths that you can access your x86-based VMs today. And those are in the Azure portal, Azure CLI, and various SDKs, as well as the Azure Resource Manager template.
Excellent, excellent. So what type of tools, maybe this is a question for Jamshed, are there any documentation for these updates that are being pushed out, and where can they be found?
Sure. Like I mentioned, we have Visual Studio for ARM64 coming pretty shortly in the next, I would say, couple of weeks, fingers crossed. And things seem to be landing pretty well for that. And along with the release, we will have a bunch of getting started documentation. In addition to Visual Studio, we already have .NET 6, which shipped November 21, that natively supports ARM64 on Windows. We've also got our OpenJDK distribution. We've got a whole bunch of other things, C++ tools that have shipped in previews already, in earlier previews of Visual Studio. So all of these are already available. What's shipping new this month is the entire Visual Studio IDE built natively for ARM64 for a more performant experience. But you can get started today. So if you're not blocked by Visual Studio, if you're a CLI developer, for example, and using .NET, you can use .NET 6 release for ARM64 today on the CLI and start building apps. You could even use a .NET 7 preview. We've shipped 4 previews so far and all of them keep adding functionality to enhance the ARM64 experience. And there's more coming. So the bits that are already out there are already documented. We have a pretty extensive blog post on ARM64 work that was done in the .NET 5 and .NET 6 timeframe,
Mm-hmm.
and I can share a link to that.
Excellent, excellent. So, what's one feature that you would be more excited about in here?
Well, the value of ARM-based VMs is certainly exciting. The performance of the Ampere Altra-based machines is also quite good, and customers can get similar or in some cases better performance than equivalent x86 machines for 20% lower pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing customers excited about that. And we're also excited about the recent preview of AKS on ARM in Azure. And we encourage everybody to jump on the platform and give us your feedback as we head on the path towards GA.
Yeah,
Excellent,
for sure.
excellent. Hari, what's most exciting for you in this?
Hey, the biggest thing for me is, it's not often that we bring up a new processor in Windows or Azure. So that has been a super exciting journey for me. We brought up Windows and ARM PCs a few years ago for the first time, and now we've onboarded ARM inside the Azure space. And so that's like, I mean, the technical challenge to do that is pretty huge. And so building all of Azure, building all of Windows, building all of the Azure Fabric and Pilot running and making it run is pretty awesome. So that's been super exciting. From a from a customer avenue, I think the biggest thing that has been exciting for me is, we've heard continuous feedback from our developers on how they want VMs in Azure. And so now we can finally sort of put that to rest and be like, hey, here you get Windows 11 VMs in Azure, and now we can start developing and building apps for Windows PCs. That's the next and most exciting part for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you absolutely hit that right, Hari. Like, how many times in your career or development cycles do you intersect
Right.
a new architecture for
That's correct.
development or even consumption, right? Like, you write something on x86, you keep repurposing it. How
Yep.
many times do you get involved in a transition and a new technology? It's an amazing time frame.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Good.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. So, Jamshed, do you want to add anything more to the exciting ARM64 technology?
Sure. For me personally, the most challenging aspect or most exciting aspect is the ecosystem problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I won't say easy, but it is relatively easy or straightforward for us to build our tools and ship them for ARM64. Partnering with a large number of software vendors out there, many of them open source, many of them commercial ISVs that ship their own software, and getting them all excited about ARM and getting them to deliver value for their customers on ARM along with us. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a big challenge. And we're seeing a lot of excitement. We're seeing a lot of ISVs hop onto the train and join us and partner with us in working towards delivering. So I'm excited about that.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Here's an interesting question from one of the viewers. I know we're talking about the Azure-based VMs and things like that, but is this available on mobile development environment? Maybe Hari, you can take a shot at
Sorry,
that.
what is developable? I'm not sure.
The
I
question is
follow the question.
right. The question is this available for mobile development?
So when you say mobile development, are you asking if the virtual machine is like iOS or Android? Is that what you're asking? I don't fully.
I think so. This is a question from the viewer. Um, I think it's probably something around that. Maybe we can take this offline and answer it back in the chat. Maybe we need to ask a question
The,
back to the viewer.
the guests that we have available as more listed are Ubuntu, SUSE, Windows 11, and I think you had one or two more that I don't fully remember. But those are the guests. Sorry, mobile.
Yes, that's correct. And so CentOS is available now in addition to the ones that you listed. And SUSE is coming soon. The use cases where uh, customers and developers are looking to use ARM VMs as to accelerate development for edge devices, mobile devices is absolutely a core one there. As Jamshed mentioned, there's additional tooling and support that's being built out in the ecosystem to make that even easier there. And we are seeing customers look towards using these VMs for these purposes.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Here's another question, maybe for Hari again. There's a lot of open source work that's getting done around this. Are these open source work getting released into the open source environments?
I mean, depends on what the open source projects people are referring to. But by definition, if it's open source,
It is open source.
it is already in open source. For example, Chromium added support for ARM, Windows and ARM PCs. We've upstreamed a lot of that work. We have we add support in LLVM and Clang, for example, to support ARM. So for Windows. So yeah, if it's open source and people are adding support, it's already out there. Linux support for ARM is best of breed. Like it has almost all of the tools are available on ARM, like Python, Clang, LLVM, all of the things that people want for developing is available on Linux for ARM too. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, if there's
absolutely.
if there's a specific OSS project, I can answer more, but the generic answer
Yeah,
is OSS
open source is a open
is open
source, right,
source.
Hari?
Yes, it's there exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, it's called open source for a reason.
yeah.
So yeah, Jamhid, if you had any specific question on what you were looking for, please add on to your question and we can get to it. All right. So how do people get access to these preview VMs? Mo, you
Uh,
want to take that?
you bet. So I think we'll maybe pop it up on the screen here for full clarity, but it's aka.ms/arm64 VMs preview. And there's a short form there. Please fill that out. The main questions are how many VMs and vCPUs do you need and where? And we'll look for your Azure subscription to allow list it into access and encourage everybody to take a look and hop on.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you so much for
Here's a
that, Ravi.
question from an person very interested in learning more about it. She says she doesn't deal with VMs, but this is very interesting. Is there any type of beginner level content I can go and learn about? I guess this would be more around learning in general about the ARM64 architecture and how apps work in that space. Would this be a good one for you, Hari?
I'm not sure I understood
I
the
could
question
start
in
with this
that
one.
manner. I just sorry, go ahead, Mo. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Mo.
Yeah, I could start with this one. So first, again, the VMs are Azure VMs, and so you could use a rich content that's available on Azure Learning Tracks and the documentation, including hands-on labs. Of course, with free tier access, so you could get your experience level up in using these VMs broadly. And as it pertains to specific documentation on the ARM VMs, you'll find those available as we get closer to the general availability of the VMs.
Excellent, excellent. Another question from our viewers here. Are these VMs available as service fabric nodes as well?
No, they are not at this current time. And would love to learn more on the use cases that you have in mind as well.
Yeah, I think if you amplify that more, in general, we would love to hear about use cases that people have that they think are not supported today. And so we would, if you have other scenarios that you think is not being met, like we'd love to hear from all of you.
Yep, there's a
100%.
action item for the viewers too, right?
Yeah,
Let us know
Eh,
what you think are your interesting use cases, and we can go from there.
Yeah, and there's a
Looking
field in
forward
the
for all the
preview form.
participation. Hmm.
Absolutely, and there's a field in the preview form asking exactly that.
There we go. Time to get on there and get your preview started. All right. Mo, is there any um, good tips and stuff that you guys want to share with the viewers as to when they get started?
Well, look, this is a just tremendously exciting time in data center, in cloud, introduction of a new CPU architecture with broad applicability to customer use cases. The This is a time I think for folks that are interested to learn more, looking to get engaged here. We do expect that. You'll have a good experience getting on a platform and learning with us. And in this preview time, it's a time for us to work together and share your experiences and ensure that we're focused on the features that you need as we move forward there. And so take a look, hop on, and let us know what you think.
Excellent. Hey, I myself am very excited to go give it a try. It's pretty excited, long-waited VMs out there. Hopefully, all our viewers are excited and get on the preview soon.
absolutely.
Harry, anything you want to add on?
No, I think most said it really well. Try it out, and the key thing to keep in mind is it's not special. It's just you do the same thing you've always done on Azure, and just run it on Arm now. And as Mo mentioned, you'll same price performance. Same performance as x86. So there shouldn't be any real noticeable gaps for your experience. So, and as always, like, this is a journey. So please give us feedback so we're learning and do things better if there are gaps.
Yeah, excellent. This has been a great learning for me. I hope the viewers also got a good view of it, and let's all hop on to the previews. And it's been great. Thanks for everyone joining us today, and look at the links at the below and see what's coming up next.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you
See you.
all.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye.